I need to know everything, who and the what and the where, I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George, I hop in the Porsche, 5 and a horse, I'm ready for war, I'm coming for throats, to turn to a ghost, I need to know everything. Now you be surprised at the info you get is by letting them talk, so I'm letting them talk. Gotta keep quiet, maneuver in signs to let them in.
JK+1. I am your host, John from Kinchin. I'm not PTF because he's in Royal Ascot. You know, he's probably got a hat on. He always has a hat on. He's probably got his little coat and tails and his little vest and all that stuff. He's probably in the car park right now, setting it off, as a matter of fact. But we're wishing him luck over there. Before we get started, I want to thank our friends at Qatar Racing for all of their support, and they'll like the guest we have today. They've won some big races together. And speaking of our guest, one of I didn't know this, but I know it now. One of the funnest guys in the jocks room, Florent Geroux. Flo, very funny, very hilarious. The first time I had dinner with him, he's like, everyone else left. He's like, hey, let's hang out. Okay, Flo, whatever you say, bud. So, Flo, a lot of fun. We talked through his career, talk about some of his fun horses, talk about his experiences, and he gives me some tips on the south of France and a lot of fun stuff. So I won't hold you too long with me rambling on. We'll just jump in this thing and talk to Flo. Flo, what's going on?
Hey, how are you, JK?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. I'm up here in Saratoga. You gonna come up and hang out with us a little bit this summer, or what?
Yes, of course. Yeah, I'll be there in about a month.
Sweet. Have you and John Panagot decided where you guys are gonna spend the majority of the summer, or is it still up in the air?
Yeah, I think we pretty much leaning toward Saratoga, to be honest. Just because I think we have a nice group of horses, 3-year-old and some nice 2-year-old coming up too. And we are running for the right people right now, and we feel it's probably the best move, and hopefully add up some nice horses for the summer too.
You have a great relationship with you and Brad Cox, kind of like really started to blow up at the same time, which I thought was it's kind of poetic, and it's kind of similar a little bit to me, like feels a little bit kind of like Johnny and Todd, where like, Todd started to get a lot of really good horses, and then Johnny started to ride for him, and then they kind of teamed up to do a lot of damage. And it seems very similar to you and Brad's relationship, where Brad really got going right when you really got going, and you guys have kind of just been on the same wavelength ever since.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. I think it's probably part of like how successful we've been, together. It's just good relationship, and I think we like to work together as well. Doesn't matter if it's prepping horses in the morning and tactics the afternoon. We have the same point of view, and I think it's a team effort at the end of the day. It's not one man show type of deal. I think the more people you add in your team, and you have the same goal, and also we work as a team, that's how you have the biggest result, I would say.
Flo, I want to go back to France at some point, but before we get there, I want to just dive right into who feels like to me was probably, and no offense to the other ones, the best horse you ever rode, who is still making a huge impact on the game in Gun Runner. And I want to go to a race when I had Mike Smith, and I talked to Mike Smith about that when Arrogate ran down Gun Runner in Dubai. Did you think you were home in that race?
Yeah, I thought I was home. Yes. Yeah, I mean, that's the race I lost. And people told me, Gun Runner became better. When he got back from Dubai. I would say I think he was just as good as when he was in Dubai too. The Razorback was amazing, prepping for Dubai World Cup, and when he went there, I thought I was home. I couldn't feel like, and if you look at the replay very closely, especially from the 3/8 pole all the way until the wire, I felt like I had him, and he almost caught me off guard. He went by me so fast. I was just starting to encouraging gun runner and turning my stick over just to get him to another gear. And here he came. He went by me so fast. I was like, wow. I was just very stunned. It's probably the best race I would say I've seen from my own eyes from a racehorse. It was just incredible what our guy did that day, because he ran down a special horse, and to do it like this very easy, it just show you how good he was too.
Do you look back through Gunrunner's career? And I look back and I see some of the horses that beat him. I'm like, how the hell did that horse beat him?
Yeah, I know sometimes it's weird. I mean, it's that's the way it is. But yeah, no, it's funny. It's like it's the horse really. From the first time I've rode him until the end, I can't recall every single one of his races. There's not one of them where I'm like, oh yeah, I rode him in there, and I don't quite remember the race or who was in the race. I can tell you pretty much what horse was in the race, competing with him, where I was positioning the horse, thing like this. It's it's pretty neat actually to remember every single races, from one horse, especially when I rode the horse, multiple times.
Well, so what was the origin story there? How did you? I mean, I'm assuming that it was just a situation where you were in Louisiana and Steve wanted to run him in the Risen Star, and Ricardo was probably in Oaklawn because Ricardo rode him the first 3 times. Was it pretty straightforward how you got the mount, or was it a little bit trickier than what it looks like on paper?
No, I think that was like you said, pretty much what you said. Ricardo is based over there during the winter times at Auckland, and I was based at the fairground. I was doing very well at the time, starting to ride more and more for Steve Asmussen, and from there it just came pretty much naturally, and I started walking the horse. I would say maybe a month before he starts running in the Risen Star, so I probably breathed him like we see probably 3 times before he ran, and from there I just rode him the first time, and I mean I thought he was a nice horse, but no one really knew how special he was really until I even the Risen Star was good, but I wasn't like blown away, to be honest. It's really in the Louisiana Derby when you win it very easily. I was like, all right, I think we have something special, but I think everything was very went according to plan. I don't think Steve wanted and his team wanted the horse 110% for the Risen Star. They wanted to make sure the horse was able to improve to all the way to run for the Derby.
How about the Derby? Anything about that day that going back, I wish I would have done this, or was there a part in the race where you feel like something happened that changed the outcome?
No, actually, it was my first Derby ride. Uh, I was supposed to ride the Derby the year before for Todd Pletcher, and the horse ended up scratching the day before the race. So I was pretty bummed about that. So Gunrunner was my first Derby ride, and all the other jockeys, the guy older than you, they prep you up a little bit. They give you some pointers, and they say, hey, listen, doesn't matter how many Derby you've ridden, you never prepare for this kind of race. It's very intense, 20 horse field, lot of horses, lot of bumping going on, especially coming into the first turn. So make sure you're well, you take a spot and you stick with it. Don't try to make some crazy move, because you're gonna pay the price. And I was very focused, and I thought I studied the race pretty good, and I mean I caught a flyer. I remember the horse broke from the gate and just like completely flew. And I remember there was a horse all the way on my outside. I'm gonna try to remember the name. Mike was riding. He drove the 20. He was a sprinter from California. Uh,
Oh, was it
uh,
Baffert's
yeah,
horse?
no, it was yellow and yellow silks and red. I would say the Dancing Candy was his name.
Oh, very good, very good.
Yeah, very fast horse.
Yep.
Cliff size, older guy, and from California. The horse, he was supposed to be the horse on the lead, and everyone pretty much knew he was going to be on the lead and fade, because on paper it looked like he couldn't get the distance. So he said, "Oh, I'm gonna be probably third, fourth, fifth, right there." and I broke, and here I am. I'm in front of him. I remember when I watched the replay a few times, and I keep looking right. I'm like, oh, where is that thing? I'm like, he drove from the outside, but I'm like 2 lengths in front of him. I'm like, he's gotta go at some point. If not, I'm gonna go. And finally, Mike, came flying on the outside and crossed over me. So coming into the first turn, I was right behind him. I was laying third, beautiful spot, and the favorite was right outside of me, Nyquist. And I remember actually in the backside, Mario took him off the rail and came and went in the 4 pass. And I'm like, all right. I'm like, if you don't want that spot, I'm gonna take it. So I took there, and I was laying second. And when the horse, fade, Dancing Candy start making the lead, from the 3-8 and from there I can hear the crowd, the people standing by the quarter pole from the top of the stretch, those bleachers there, and you can hear them like screaming. I never hear anybody when I ride a race. Usually you focus and you don't even hear the announcer or the crowd. And I remember that day I was like, wow! I'm like, what? Damn it! I might win that thing. And I look on my right, and when Nyquist, cut him loose, he went by me very fast. But that was very exciting race, and I was pleased of myself too, because I thought I handled my first Derby mount good, and I thought I rode the horse really good, and I finished third. And I think that day I don't think I could have done any better. So I would have loved to win the Derby, don't get me wrong, but I was also proud of myself to say, all right, that was the biggest race I ever ridden in my career, and I didn't mess it up. So hopefully he's going to add some more and bring me some more opportunity, and it really did.
When I always, I'm sure it happens to you all the time, and like, you get in an Uber or you're sitting on a plane and you sit next to someone and they start talking to you and they say, oh, what do you do? And oh, I'm an analyst on TV for horse racing. Oh, have you ever been in the Kentucky Derby? That's always the first question they ask.
Of course.
So when you tell people that you're a jockey, I'm sure they ask you, have you ever won the Kentucky Derby? What answer do you give them on the airplane?
Yeah, I said, yes, sort of. I told him sort of. I don't say, yes, I win it. Google my name and it's going to pop up. But I said, yes, sort of. I say 1 year I came very close to win it. And the horse who won the race got disqualified because he had a bad test. And that's how I ended up winning. So, and people say, oh, congrats. They really don't say, hey, you didn't win the Derby. But they also, at the end of the day, my name is in the history book, So, don't get me wrong, as a personal feeling, I want to cross the wire first. There is nothing like this. I will give up the money prize just to have the feeling of winning the Derby. But, I also take it too, who knows what would have happened, if the horse, would have not make, because now they do like a pre-race, testing, thing like this, and they're a little more and more, stronger with that. That's the way it is, but I kind of feel bad because I thought, Bob and his team, did a great job, coming into the race with the horse. The horse looked good, ran great. It's not the horse fault, it was just a little bit of a mistake, and they pay a very, very heavy price for that.
Yeah, no, it makes sense to me. I would definitely, I would do the same thing you did. I would just tell them, yeah, I won the Kentucky Derby. I'd let them figure it out on their own if they wanted to, if they had any additional questions. Flo, it's one of the things that, getting to know a lot of you guys that I've always thought was really cool is that, obviously you're out there and you're competing with one another, but you all seem to have, I'm sure there's some people that don't have great relationships, but have great relationships. Like, and especially the guys that you guys are competing for the same barns even too. Like, I've seen you and Ricardo hanging out and at dinner and getting on well. And is that important to you to you're around those guys all the time to have those great relationships?
No, I think it's very important. And I think I'm very open-minded person. I like to talk, with everybody. I like to be in good term. Don't get me wrong, when it's race day and it's a race and we're next to each other, there's no we're not giving somebody any advantage. you try to win the race. You're getting into a dogfight, and you get excited. You want to win. Doesn't matter who's next to you, even if it's your best friend, brother, or you know anyone. But I would say overall, yeah, I think it's important to have a good relationship with everybody, and I love the game, and I love people in general. So
Did it help when you came over to have people like you know countrymen like Julian and I know Flavian kind of came after you did, but did that help? Did that kind of help the transition for you?
yeah, definitely. I mean, I would say Julian is probably one of my best friends, no doubt. He's a great mentor too. He's an unbelievable person as well. You won't find any, yeah, he has a big heart, and he's always here to help you. And when I came over, right away, he really took care of me. Doesn't matter if it's riding, or it was also some stuff in personal life, because when you came over, there's a lot of things who was changing. You come here and you don't have any family, and I felt like I always been part of his family, and he always took care of me very well and introduced me to everyone he knew. And later on, when I start doing better, he was. I can tell even now. I think he's very very proud of me, and I can tell. And we talked about that before, and I would say Julian is more than a friend. He's more like a brother to me, especially because we know each other for so long, even before America. And when I came here, he was definitely one of the first person to give me a push, and always giving me support and helping me.
Did his success here did that kind of influence your decision when you decided to come to the U.S.?
Yes, a little bit, because it shows it was possible. I always loved the races in America in general. I have never been, but I was always watching Breeders' Cup racing. I was excited, when I remember it was the winter of when Invasor won the race. It was really the click for me. I see a young jockey, Fernando Hara, 18 years old, winning the classic, and those kind of things in France or Europe, it's almost impossible, because all the big stable have a contract jockey. So it doesn't matter if you break the horse maiden, or you can find the horse somewhere. At the end of the day, you're not gonna ride the horse. It's gonna be the guy under contract who's gonna end up sitting on the horse. Even if the trainer would love to give you the opportunity, he's under contract with the owner, so they just can't. So it's very limited opportunity, and I just felt like, you know what? I just feel like it's the right place, maybe to go and maybe be someone different. There, like, people seeing you different, like being like a classic jockey or riding those big horses. And so I decided to leave, the winter, just to check it out, and went to California, working for Patrick Biancon that year, and just loved it right away when I get off the airplane and stuff like this. Really, it was pretty much like I've seen in the movies, with the palm trees and the streets and all the stuff. And really, I got it right away. And after a few weeks, Patrick decided to start working on my working visa and stuff like this with his lawyer. And from there, I came back and never left. So pretty incredible story.
How how much of an adjustment was it for you with the dirt? Obviously switching from Europe is basically all turf and synthetic a little bit. Was it a huge adjustment for you, or did you catch on pretty quickly?
I will say, to be honest, I think I catch on pretty quick. My first really meet was full meet was Arlington Park, and at the time they were synthetic, so it was polytrack and turf and big white turf course. So it was good. But the winter, I decided to stay in Chicago to start having like a more like a routine type of circuit. I didn't want to move from place to place. I wanted to make sure people start knowing me, and just like me in Chicago, winter time there's no grass, so, and hot on dirt racing. So I was on dirt for pretty much 6 months out of the year. So I think it really gave me a good push to adapt, because it was the only surface we raced on for a very long time. So and I spent few winter over there hot on, so it was a pretty I would say easy transition.
Yeah, I was going to ask you because I was one of my best days that helped me win this contest was when you won with the Pizza Man, the Arlington Million at Arlington Park, and
Okay.
I thought to myself, that's got to be a pretty special place for you, Arlington Park, and while I know that Arlington going away was probably sad for a lot of people, I figured it probably you'd be one of those people that sad to see it go.
Yes, definitely. It was, I would say definitely top three, one of my best race I've ever won in my life, just because it was very meaningful to win the signature race in my home track, and it was at the time it's still a very tough race to win. You have some of the best hero who comes over. They're really pointing for the race. You have pretty much the best tough horses in America who competing, and here I am, me with a homebred, Illinois bred local horse who trains there. I mean, it's just crazy to win the race, and I was able to pull it off, and something I will never forget. And now, looking at it and looking at you know Churchill Downs selling the place to Chicago Bears and having this stadium, and now the place getting to be destroyed very soon. It's a very sad to have like a grandstand or just a place, this magnitude, and also so well, maintained, and also unbelievable grandstand. It's just very sad to see it go, for sure.
Another important Chicago horse to you, I would imagine, Work All Week.
Yeah, Walker Week, same thing. I picked him up for the same trainer and connection owner, Midwest Thoroughbred. Picked him up, start working on him, and start winning some races at Hawthorne and Arlington, and make our way all the way to my first ride in the Breeders' Cup, and winning one. So pretty special too, and give me a good push, because I always say at the time when I rode my first Breeders' Cup and I win it, people say, "Oh, everything came after that, easy." I remember I came back and people say, "Oh yeah, win the Breeders' Cup," but they did think that was just a lucky. That was just that was the chance of the beginner, just getting lucky once, and after that, I start keeping working really hard, and start adding up some other nice horses, and after that it's almost like a snowball effect. But it was definitely one of the first one who give me the push to the bigger stage, for sure.
Were you worried about the draw for Work All Week when you drew the 14?
No, I was not. No, no, it was extremely fast, and from there I said, all right, I can go or I can stop. I don't see any because sometimes those sprint races like this, when there's a lot of speed and you draw in the middle, if you make one bad step leaving the gate and you have speed inside outside, the race is over. It's finished. You can end up instead of going 1-2, you can end up going maybe 4, 5, 6, or you have to use your horse extremely hard just to maintain a position, and from there the horse doesn't have any chance to get a breather, and from there the race is over. So it's almost better sometimes to have good speed and drawing the outside. Usually it's always been working good for me, just because you can place the horses well and give them a breather when you want to, not when you have to.
Is that the same situation that you had with Mongolian Saturday as well?
Yeah, same thing. Like I was like, there was a speed horse who just went straight to the lead and cut some other guy off. From there, I just followed the movement, and from there, I was end up to a great spot. This guy was more like I would say, not say lucky, but I was a little bit more surprised by how well he ran, because it was an extremely tough race. And but the walk a week, I had more walk a week. I knew the horse more, and I had more faith coming into the race.
So we've talked about some of your Breeders' Cup wins. We talked about the Pizza Man and Gun Runner, and uh, we got to talk a little bit about Monomoy Girl. I played in the Breeders' Cup betting challenge the year that you won the classic. I mean, not the classic, the distaff, excuse me, at Keeneland, and I was playing in the contest. I had $45,000 on one of my entries, and I bet it all on you to win.
Oh, good. Oh, that's good. I'm happy you did that. Not the best trip I had with her. I mean, people that were taking shot at me. The door race. I mean, I couldn't do anything without somebody making a move inside or trying to push me out. A lot of things going on, and I felt like that day was probably one of the best race she ever ran, just because she outcome multiple time move. But no, I think that was pretty special, especially winning the second Breeders' Cup after a 15 months layoff, missing the entire season of 2019. Pretty special, to to win a race like that with her. I was blown away, to be honest.
How good was she on the grass? I mean, you won with her on the grass. How good would she have been on the grass?
I think she would have been fine on the grass too. My biggest regret maybe with her is not taking against the boys, because I'm guaranteed 100% she would have beat them, especially a race like the Cigar Mile or something like that. I think she would have been she would have been pretty special in a race like that.
Was it, there was a lot to be said about kind of the way she ran with her head up. I mean, is that something as a rider you can tell a lot, right? Because their head's just kind of in your face a little bit.
Yeah, you can tell, and you can also feel it too. It's more like I mean, obviously, a lot of people have seen it because she was very popular and people were used to see her run. But on her back, it was hard because I felt like sometimes I was going from like 40 miles an hour to 30 miles an hour in a second, just because she felt like the race was over and her job was finished, and it was not. So it's pretty sad, because honestly, I really do think she probably should have been undefeated. No problem. The race I've lost in the Apple Blossom, or last race, I thought I should have never lost that one, just because I was going so easily next to like Truska, and he was absolutely done at the 316. I had him measured like for sure, and she just pulled herself up and get me beat. And she did the same thing as a 2-year-old in the Golden Rod. So there was two races she lost by another horse, and both of those races she had the lead 50 yards before the wire. So it just told you like how good she was. I would say she should have been undefeated. Just too bad, but I was that's the way she went. But maybe that's the way that kept her going for so long, because she never goes 100% to the finish line, and maybe she always kept something left for the next race too.
Yeah, she was outstanding. I forget sometimes that, that I guess there's the Cotillion that she got beat, but that, she was disqualified, but, or wait, the Cotillion. Yeah.
Cotillion, she got disqualified. She got beat twice, like fair and square. She got beat in a Golden Run as a 2-year-old.
Right.
After she won the Rags to Riches Stakes, the local prep at Churchill, and she got beat her last race at the in the Apple Blossom. Cotillion, she win it. I got DQ because she drift out. But I mean, that day everyone knew that Midnight Bizu would have never gone by me. That was just like a guess. And when it's a guessing game and the steward doesn't know for sure, then they're making the call. But that day it could have gone 50-50 too. It's not like I cut him off and he had to check. I just slightly drift him out, and he lost several passes. But at the end of the story, he got beat maybe like a good length that day.
Yeah, she was outstanding. Flo, you got like you've got like a mind like a trainer. You like a lot of riders don't remember all the details. Like Brad Cox, obviously you've dealt with Brad. Like he can remember damn everything about every horse and every race and what price he was, where he broke from. But you've got a pretty good memory as well.
Well, I can't. You say Brad keep me on my toes too. We talk a lot of horse racing stuff, so I gotta keep searching and make sure my memory stays well. No, I just like it. That's something I like to do. I like to making research, and also it's a game I love, and you can't teach someone to be passionate about the game. You have it or you don't, and I think I have it. So
Do you watch races when you're not riding?
Yeah, I do. I actually have pretty busy schedule. Usually morning time. When I'm done walking horses in the morning, I turn on. I still follow pretty closely the French races. So I like to watch that thing like this. And day like this morning, obviously I watch several races at Ascot. It's always a meet I like, and it's big races and good horses, and it's fun watching those things. But morning, yeah, I'm watching races from Europe, and afternoon I'm watching races from here.
You've spent extended times in some fun cities. I mean, you obviously been in New Orleans a lot. You're in Lexington a lot. You're in Chicago. You've done New York. You did Del Mar. What's kind of your favorite outside of the racing? Racing aside, where's kind of your favorite place to kind of hang out, dinner? Where's your best? Where's the place you enjoyed the most?
Oh, I have lots. I mean, I would say my soft spot maybe in Chicago, just because my family, they're all from there, and I love the city in Chicago in general. Great sports city, and also amazing food. I love going to New York. I love spending time in Manhattan and things like this. When I go to New York, it's always a plus. But I really liked actually last year Saratoga. Love it too. I mean, amazing place. And I really like Del Mar last year. I was very blown away by Del Mar during the All Meet during July and August. Very fun city, and the weather is amazing. Just a cool place, and I really liked it actually last year. Del Mar was my first time over there, and if I had to do it again, I'd definitely try to do it.
So take me back to France. Your father was a jockey, and then turned into a trainer. And then when you were 13, you decided to join the riding academy. Like, how did all of that unfold? Did you know you were going to be a rider when you were 5, or was it something that just kind of came along? What was your journey kind of through that beginning until you got on the plane to come to America?
Oh, so like you said, no, my dad, Dominic, was a jockey first, and later became a trainer. I was into races, but not so much. I come to the barn once in a while and seeing horses running at the racetrack and stuff. But that was not really my thing. I like to play sport and really do like other kids my age were doing. I thought it was a little bit boring at the time. If you ask me if I wanted to become a soccer player or a jockey, I will tell you a soccer player at the time. But I think when I became more like 11, 12 years old, start getting more in my mind. I can tell I was not growing very fast. I had the perfect body type to become a jockey. And my dad just put it in my ear, said, listen, next year, you can apply to go to the jockey school. They have like some kind of like test, to run first. Make sure, you have you have the right size and the weight, and also no physical problem to become a jockey and be accepted by the school. He said, listen, next year they're gonna do that. If you wanna try it, try it, and if you don't like it, just come back home. And I did over there, and I did 2 weeks over there in July. Just they call that the pre-exam, just because starting to the racing academy who starting the year in September. And I did that, and I really liked it. And from there, I just stay there. And it's a 3 or 4 years program. When I started getting in, I was 13 years old, and taking my license when I was jockey license when I was 16. But at the time, I was still very small and very very light. It took me a very long time to grow to my adult size and my waist size. So I really started riding when I was like late 16, beginning of 17. And from there, I just started winning some races. And after that, did pretty good, I would say, when I was racing in France.
Was it a hard decision? Was it hey, I'm going to America, leaving next week, see you guys, or how did the whole decision process come along?
Yeah, actually, that was during the winter season. It was right at the beginning of December, And usually it's a little bit all the good racing at the time in France, everywhere is gone because there's no more grass, and the only grass racing is south of France, and the meet doesn't start until mid-January. You race in Cannes-sur-Mer. It's near Cannes and Nice. It's southeast of France, very at the border of Italy. It's a beautiful place actually, and actually, when I was doing there, I was always one of my main meet because some of the top jockeys were not, riding over there. So I was going over there and I was winning a lot of races. So that was a tough one to not go, but I just felt like there was something really wanted to try. And when I came here, I didn't have really the idea of staying here. It was more to check things out. It was not like, all right, I'm gonna pack my bag. It's a one-way ticket, not coming back. No, I knew exactly when I was coming back and when I was leaving. It's when at the end of my stay is when I decided to really stay here in America.
How was your English when you came? Because look, I've always lived in the U.S., but I've always thought to myself that would be the hardest part. Is like, shit, man, like going to some other country where I can't speak. I mean, I can't even go on, like when I go on vacation to somewhere where they don't speak English, it's like the hardest thing in the world. How was your English when you came over?
Very basic, pretty much no English. I was lucky because like I said, I was working for Patrick Biancon at the time. Everyone working there was speaking French. Julian was speaking French. I was speaking French. The assistant were French. The exercise rider were French. So here we are. We are like 5-6 guys all talking French. So I didn't even need to speak English, and I didn't learn much during that time, to be honest. I just picked it up. I think if you want to communicate to people and you have no choice, you're gonna learn. There's a lot of people who goes to countries with doesn't know the language. I knew very basic, but I think I'm pretty outgoing and I like to communicate with people. But you gotta learn, and I think when you're when you don't have any choice, that's how you learn really really quick. It's almost like a survival type of deal. And here I am. I think I speak all right now.
When you and Julian and Flavian are in the room together, do you speak French to each other?
Yeah, it comes comes automatic. Sometimes some guys, especially some the Latinos rider, they're looking at us. They don't really understand what's going on, and they say, "Man, speak English." We're not trying to have some kind of code, but it just comes like this. We just don't. It's a switch. We don't really pay attention. It comes naturally. So.
Yeah, come on. I can't imagine that Irad and Jose are speaking English to each other in the room.
No, they don't. And I mean, us, we can understand Spanish because we've been here for a long time and we speak it a little bit. But those guys speaking French to them, it's a very hard language to learn. And they're like, they have no clue.
What about with I was talking to Rudolph Brissett the other day at Belmont, and he was talking about how his kid doesn't speak any French. And I was like, "Well, you don't speak French to your kid at all?" And he's like, he goes, "Sometimes I speak English to like Florent and to Julian and to Flavian sometimes. Like it's just like it's been so long. I just stopped speaking French."
Yeah, no, you do, and honestly, there's sometimes some words we forget because we just don't practice. And no, it's hard, especially if both of the parents are French, you're gonna talk French, at home, and the kid's gonna speak French. Like Flavian, his wife is French, and the kids are speaking French because that's all they speak. But myself, Julian, or Rudy, our partner's wife, they're American, so we speak English at home. So now for the kids to learn, it's a little bit harder. My kids speak a little bit because they were able to learn from myself or my dad when he was coming over, or I put them in French school while we were in New Orleans for the winter before. But now it's been a few years and they start slowly forgetting things. They still understand, but they have a tough time now speaking because it's not a language they are practicing.
Flo, I'm gonna need your help. My wife and I were supposed to go to after the meet. We had to come back after we got married. We had to come back because Belmont was right around the corner, so we were gonna do our honeymoon after after Saratoga, and we're thinking south of France.
Yes, of course. Yeah, I think that's where it should be. South
They
of France,
don't
very.
they don't
Repeat,
race in
please.
the summer, do they? Don't get me in trouble. I'm just checking. Do they race in the summer down there?
Yeah. They race all the time. It never ends over there. I'll find you something. I'll find you at least one day at the racetrack. I think. I think your wife should be okay to let you go at least one day. You gotta check it out when you're there.
Just one day. I gotta say that I did it. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we're thinking, but we're trying to figure out where we should kind of let be our home base. Like, should we make Nice our home base? Should we make Cannes our home base? Like, where's the best place to set up shop to kind of be our, and then we'll take the train to other places for a couple days and have one home base.
Yeah, I think maybe I would say Nice is probably the biggest city, but from Cannes too, it's not very far. It's maybe no traffic, maybe 10-15 minutes. It's very everything is very close up to each other. You can even be based in something in the middle, depending what your schedule supposed to be. But you can do pretty much Nice, Cannes, Villefranche. You can do Monaco too. Everything in train. It takes you maybe 15-30 minutes, train ride just to go to from maybe some Monaco to Nice, thing like that. I think it depends really, but I would say maybe Nice is probably the biggest city where you have a little more choice of restaurant and thing like that.
Okay, well, there it is. Nice it is. I hope Julian comes to Saratoga this summer because I have an awesome idea. You're going to love it. I have an idea to do a cart talk with you, Flavian, and Julian.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Julian, he's planning on coming. Actually, he's gonna come.
Perfect.
He's in England right now, so he's gonna take care of business tomorrow in the Prince of Wales. I wish him luck.
Who's he riding tomorrow?
Classic Cosway.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
I think he should be on the
Yeah.
lead. The question
Yeah.
is, he's gonna have to stay on the lead. That's the toughest part.
Yeah, he better get out there and roll. I think American Rascal is our best chance.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
The Wesley Sword. I think that horse is pretty fast. Fly. It's funny. I was just thinking about this. A funny story that I forgot about, where it feels like kind of the moment that you and I became friends was back. It was back in 2021. It was February 13th, and it was down at the fairgrounds. And you had just ridden Travel Column, and Clarier caught you there late. And I think on the show, you sent me it's funny. I'll read it, but you sent me a link of that I had said, basically I was saying that you're overconfident and you should have went on with it, blah, blah, blah. And then you sent the link and I just read it again. It was so funny. I got so defensive. I was like, I said, oh shit. And I said, I'm certain in your career, I'm certain in your career, you have said or done something you believed was right that might have offended someone else. I consider Doug your previous agent a friend, and you can't find that I've ever talked poorly of you. I have never sat on a horse's back and respect what you do immensely. I hope you understand my responsibility to say what I feel. Despite that, I always try to stay respectful. I was disappointed in the ride on the filly. I might be right and I might be wrong. I hope you don't take it personally. And then you were super gracious. You were just like, oh, don't worry. I was just kidding with you. And then you said, I know when I messed up, and really like how you analyze races. And then you said, hope to see you soon. And then we've had dinner 4 times since then. So,
but I thought to myself, because I think obviously I like what you do, and I think we have this. You have a good state of mind. You're trying to understand racing also as trips. Sometimes you can have the best horse, but if you see speed outside, doesn't matter how good the jockey is or thing like this. Sometimes it's not gonna be the right setup, and even if it's the best horse, it's not gonna work out. And I think you're looking at this type of possibility very very well. And sometimes you doesn't mind switching horses just because you hate the setup on the horse you would love to pick. And I think that I think it's a bigger advantage you have to put yourself also as the mind of the rider. But to come back to that race, I was very disappointed. I really thought I had it, and like you said, overconfident, and I really thought it cost me big. I thought I had it measured, and I wanted to do the right thing for the filly because it was the first race of the layoff, and we know she had like a long campaign as a 3-year-old and this and that. And I wanted to build on the race, and I come back and I was like, damn it, I messed up. I said, I thought right away I should have gone on with it, this, that. Still very proud of the effort of the filly, but didn't like the outcome at all. And 4 weeks later, same horses pretty much were back in the Fragrance Oaks, and from there I didn't look back very long. I started pushing the button right away and open up on Claire, and was able to hold her off pretty well in the race. So I learned from my mistake. At least I messed up one, but we got rewarded, and I won the right one. So.
Yeah, but it's funny though, because hindsight's 2020. There's a couple things about that. One is Claire Air turned out to be pretty damn good. So like getting beat by her that day, it's not like it was some embarrassing moment. But the thing is like, one of the things that I've tried to is there's some analysts, and I'm not picking on anyone, but everyone's going to know what I'm saying, but I'm not picking on anyone. There's some analysts that love to turn to the rider for fault. And the way that I look at that is that, sure, there's times that you will make a mistake that will cost me a bet. But there's also times where you'll make a mistake that help me win a bet. And so I try not to like allow myself to get too caught up in that, because it's, if you, because when you're zigging, I'm zagging, you're zigging, and it doesn't make any sense. And I also think it kind of slows down my growth process of trying to analyze the race more efficiently, because part of the game is predicting what you're going to do or what decisions you're going to make. It's part of it. If it wasn't, then they would just let those horses run around there and circle by themselves, and then we'd see what happens. It just doesn't work. And so I've always tried to be respectful in that arena. And you'll never see a jockey chase me off of a set for making fun of them or blaming them for something unfairly, just because it's like, I just don't really do that.
Yeah, no, I think it's like you say, it's very nice from you, and also it makes perfect sense to me. And that's why, I always respect, your opinion. And like I said, I like how you handicap, racing. And I think you bring a little bit a fresh air to the industry. Right now, it's a game who's changing, and I feel like we need some changes, and we cannot be dressed, and like people they used to be, in the 40s or 50s. Yeah, it's nice to be dressed up, this, that. There's, certain, dress code things, whatever. But at the end of the day, you need to bring more people into the game. If we need the game to survive, you need to adapt. It doesn't matter on what it is. Great, television, support, amazing, images. Documentary, like a Netflix type of like Drive to Survive, for Formula One things. We need to educate people outside of horse racing who doesn't know nothing about it. We do care about the animals. We do care about the surface. Yes, it's a business with a lot of money, but at the end of the day, we all have the same passion, which is the animal. That's the horse, and I think it's pretty cool. And I'm hoping, people like you who are, being on the TV and talking on the TV all the time can bring you that. And I feel like you do. And I like what you do. And I'm hoping you can bring some fans and maybe some future, future fans into the game.
Flo, you're a guy who, when it comes to your riding style, which, Julian, Flavien, it was, I don't know why you guys, maybe it was because of the origination in France and starting with grass, but all three of you guys at one point, I used to think overrated horses. Like I used to be like, God damn, they're always rating. But now all three of you, and especially Julian, he's sneaky. When he finds the lead, he's dangerous. And you and Flavien, especially with your working with Brad Cox, when you're on the front end, I have a ton of confidence. Was that is that something that you feel like you consciously consciously tried to switch up, or did it just kind of come with experience? And I look, I was probably unfairly saying you were overrating horses. I'm not saying I was
No,
right
no,
and
no.
you
It
got
makes
better.
sense.
But now it's not something that really comes up. When you're supposed to be on the front end, you're on the damn front end, and you're on the front end letting them roll, not that trying to walk the dog going
Yeah.
49 thing.
Yeah, no, I think it's a thing, and also it has a lot to do, to be honest, JK, with the people you're running for, because sometimes you're like, oh man, this guy, what did he strangle the horse? Because the owner or the trainer tell you, you do not gonna lead at any point, or don't get close to it, and you're just following order, and sometimes doesn't look very smart, but you're actually following the order of what the guy who's training the horse telling you to do. Sometimes it's like, oh, why this guy buried the horse on the rail? The guy told me safe ground, and if you get lucky, you get lucky. Too bad. You following order. Uh, Riding for people like I do right now, Brad Cock or Steve Asmussen, those type of guy, they like to have free running. They give you free rein. They just wish you good luck. So they expect you to be where the horse needs to be or wants to be. They don't, tell you, okay, you're gonna have to make sure you safe ground, have the horse cover up, make him finish the last quarter of a mile. They give you more free rein, and I think riding a more lot for Brad and Steve, the guy like this who likes their horses forwardly placed, it's allowed me to do my thing without any pressure or any repercussion.
Yeah, I mean, I've that's another thing that I remember. I can't remember when. I guess it was a couple years ago. I want to say it was when Reuben Munoz, who's Ricardo's agent. I know you know Reuben, had
Yeah,
Eric Cancel. I was talking to Reuben and I was complaining to him about Eric burying these horses on the rail when the rail was dead a couple summers ago at Saratoga. And I was like, Reuben, and I love Reuben. I was like, the kid's not going to have any success if he keeps putting horses on this dead rail. And he explained something to me that I didn't really realize, which is that he's like, look, Eric's riding 20-1 shots for lower level connections. And when they tell him to put the horse on the rail and save ground, and they don't know what's going on, he has to follow those instructions or they're not going to ride him back. And he has to do what they're saying. Sure, he could try to improvise a little bit and try to do his own thing, but when you get the instructions to do something, and your name's not, Irad or Joel or whatever, like these are the situations that some of these guys find themselves in. And I took an appreciation to that and realized that it's not always your decision where you put your horses.
yeah, no, definitely. Like you said, it was nice, from Ruben to tell you that, because it really gives you another perspective. Like, all right, well, maybe it makes sense now. But I think at the end of the day, sometimes people they give me pointer this that, but I always try to adapt to the situation too. Sometimes you ride a horse who's close, like I did. I didn't like really the trip I had, but I feel like my hands were tired and I had no choice. I went to Monmouth last week for Chad and riding the filly of the layoff, Gina Romantica, great filly, coming off a long layoff, grade 1 winner. Here we have two speed horses who should look like on paper should go at it and giving honest pace on the race in the Arlington Stakes right before the race. Boom, those two horses crashes. Now there's nothing, zero, no speed. I'm stuck. The filly got a little bit of tactical speed, but not so much. I would have loved to see it, maybe 4th or 5th with her, talked in things, but the the plan changed completely. Now here I am. I'm gonna be a lot closer than I would love to, with a filly coming from a layoff, and here I am. I'm laying second. Yeah, it was an okay trip, but was not the trip I wanted to give her off a layoff. If there was those two more speed horses, I think it would have changed the whole thing. But no, change the dynamic of the race. But sometimes you need to adapt also to the pace and things like that. And sometimes you have to put horses where they're gonna be comfortable of being. Sometimes it could be a little bit closer, a little bit farther, But if I don't see much pace, I'd rather be a little bit closer and having the horse pulling less on me than having the horse at the initial position and pulling more.
Yeah, and that's the tricky part about it. It's the hard part I've tried to realize with a horse like that you ran. You mentioned Monmouth in the Monmouth Stakes. You rode Tribhuvan for Madiket, which we'll get to. Saul sent me a hilarious story to ask you about, which you're going to love. But Tribhuvan, in that situation with a horse that runs his best on the front end, I've always found it to be the biggest. The hardest part I would think to be in your position is how to not go too fast, but not go too slow, but go fast enough that you're using his weapon, but not too fast because he's off a layoff, but not too slow to let the closer. It's like, I just can't imagine the nightmare out there because you don't have a watch. How did you handle that situation?
Well, I mean, pretty good. I mean, the horse is an older horse, so he knows what he's doing, and he feels like running, he's gonna run. This one, he's a good gate horse, always break well away from the gate, so got a great post that day. Very simple, he broke and lay him on the lead, and I thought that was nice and easy the first part and start picking up slowly down the backside. Unfortunately, the horse didn't have it that day. Looked like on paper he was low on the speed and probably should have gone all the way. And here I am at the 3-8 pole. There was a guy next to me I can't get rid of. And the horse just decided not running his best that day. That's the way it is. But I thought I did, the best I could. Fraction were correct, was perfect, nice, easy lead, not too slow, not too fast. But at the end, the horse didn't have it. Everything went well accorded to plan, but no horsepower at the end. So sometimes it's that's the way it is.
It's tough. I don't think you did anything wrong either. Flo, before we wrap up, a couple of we talked about a lot of horses that have meant a lot to you, the obvious ones. But I was curious if there was kind of an under the radar win or an under the radar horse or I won the Clark this one time, or the Natalma or this horse or that horse that just kind of an under the radar we didn't talk about that meant a lot to you in your career.
Well, I mean, obviously, number one, Gunrunner, like you said, Monomoy Girl, She Does Double has been great to me too, winning the Oaks. One of my first big horse, actually, good question. I'm a Chatterbox, love that filly. Swept all the Fairgrounds prep, end up winning win with Delaware Handicap, grade 1 at the time, Spinster. She won some nice one. Mandalone, obviously. Kentucky Derby slash, fake winner, whatever they call him. funny winner of the Derby, whatever. He ended up. I'm just waiting for the check right now. He's getting close. He's getting closer and closer.
You still haven't gotten it yet.
No, I have not. The deal is not done yet. They're still fighting it, and
oh boy,
it could change any time. But until I got the money and the trophy, it's not the win yet.
That'll be a nice surprise when it comes through, though.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm very curious about the trophy, to be honest, and the ring. Will be nice. This guy, recent memory, Cyberknife was amazing last year. Ton of potential. I thought retired, a little bit sooner than I wanted to. I think he would have been an amazing 4-year-old, especially how the sire went that way, Gunrunner, and also the competition. I feel like there is very lack of older horses this year. You see Cody Wish is crushing everyone, and almost beat him in the mile last year, in the Breeders' Cup mile. So I think it would have been really interesting. Right now, I have a horse I really love. Right now, it's a little bit like it's a good grade 3, grade 2 type of horse, but he has a tough time winning a grade 1. I don't know if he would. He's Set Piece. I love that horse. He has such a nice eye on him. He has a great demeanor, and he's probably my favorite horse in training right now. I just love that guy. I wish I had like a big, ton of acres, and I will steal it from Dreadmont and putting in my backyard. That's the one I would like. And I already told the racing manager, I said, man, you're lucky I don't have a big farm, or this one. I will definitely be on you already to retire this guy in my house. So
He's interesting too because he's like it's funny that like you love him so much because when I think about set piece, I think about him just being so damn good, but then sometimes I can't figure out why he didn't run as well as he could. Because he gives himself so much to do, and then for a while he was blinkers, no blinkers, and it's just it's funny that a horse that's so, I don't want to say inconsistent, I want to say so confusing at times could be a rider's favorite horse.
No, it is. No, and sometimes, and sometimes he put me in some butt jackpot because, big field, he has no early gate speed. He's always in the back. So in the back, you're going to be in traffic. So you're going to have to pass a lot of horses down the lane. Sometimes you stand on the fence, you get lucky, it's open up, you look like a genius. When the doors are closed, then you're like, oh, what was this guy was doing? Yeah, you can't go, 10 wide sometimes all the way around there and expect to win the race. Sometimes you have to take a risk and it's going to work out or it does not. But no, it's just a cool horse. I think he's just a cool horse to be around. He just loves training in the morning and he's very sweet horse. You can go in the stall and, feed him peppermint or, cuddle with him. He's just a cool horse, a cool customer. And I wish there was more race horses like this guy. So he's almost like pretty much now he's almost like a barn favorite. He's almost like, he's almost like the pony stable, but he's not quite. So I think it might be in his near future if I think Brad wants. I want to keep him. Brad wants to keep him. Everybody wants to keep him, but I think Brad may have the last word since since I don't have a house with a lot of acres.
Well, Flo, before I let you go, Saul wanted me to tell the story about asked you to tell the story about the time you guys were in Baltimore and you were going to go to dinner, but all you had on was jeans.
Yeah, I have. So got invited with Saul. I always end up somewhere with him. It doesn't matter where it is. And I went Baltimore, and he said, "Hey, Flo, get dinner." And he didn't tell me. Just told me the day before, "I want to come with us." I said, "Yeah, sure." And all I had was like button-down shirt and this. I was dressed, but not like suit and tie, whatever. And all he had to tell me is like, "Yeah, the day before I would have packed it or just wear it." So go there. He's like, "Oh, okay, Flo, you gotta wear a jacket." I'm like, "I don't have any jacket." And I told him, I said, "Hey, listen, just give me one of your jacket. I'm just gonna sit down, and hang the thing. It's just one of those, jacket deal type of places." And he said, "Yeah, sure." And I put me a jacket. Of course, the jacket is way too big, so he's looking at me. He's laughing. He's like, "I look like your dad's jacket or something. Look like a kid. Stole it from someone." And I was like, "Yeah, whatever." I didn't really care. I'm like, "It's fine." And after that, he told me, he said, "Oh, bro, I forgot." He said, "They don't allow jeans." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "No, you're gonna put the pants." I said, "No, I can't do that." I said, and I'm in the end, he's like, he's way bigger and taller than me. And I had a good thing. The only thing I had was my shoes, luckily, and I have my belt. And if I put the pants on, I look like a complete clown. I mean, the pants was way too big and things like this. And we start walking. We start walking in a restaurant. I said, "Listen, I have to sit down really quick. We're gonna walk to that table as fast as we can." And and I asked him the other day. I said, "Hey, you still have the picture?" And he sent me the video. I mean, what a joke! I even tell my wife about it. I just trust. Why you didn't tell me that? I said, I was a little bit embarrassed. I just don't want to tell you. And those guys, they all laugh. I'm sure it's gonna be until we die. It's gonna be definitely a joke we're still gonna tell, and it's gonna be. You can still remember how the guy was dressed that day, the jacket or the pants color, and how bad it fitted, and he was just it was pretty funny actually.
Yeah, he actually he sent me the picture. It's hilarious. It's very funny.
I know. That was nuts. Yeah,
oh well, Flo, I appreciate you taking the time, and can't wait to hang out when you get up here to Saratoga this summer. And I'm glad you guys are gonna spend some time up here. That'll be fun.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I would love to, and hope we meet together again, JK, very soon.
All right, talk soon. Thanks, buddy.
Okay, you're welcome anytime, bro. Bye.
All I can see is this picture. I'm going to try to encourage him to use it, to tweet it, in like a retweet of this episode with that outfit on. Hilarious. Saul came in, the podcast already started, and Saul sent me a message to tell me to ask about that. So I'm glad I got that one in. I could hear Saul saying, "Bro, but you can't wear jeans either." I really appreciate Flo taking the time. I want to thank our friends at Qatar Racing, as always, for supporting. I'm sure they got some runners at Royal Ascot this week, right? We're rooting for. I guess I should have looked that up. I didn't look, but look, I'm sure they do. So, and if they don't, they got Caravel here in the U.S. And I think Ever Mischievous is running this week. Ever So Mischievous. Remember, that was the horse that one of the first Qatar partnership podcasts I talked about, that horse running at Aqueduct, got beat, then won, the kind of one of the get out races on Derby Day, and won impressively. And I believe is entered on Thursday at Ellis, I think in the third, if I'm not mistaken. So make sure you check that out. We're going to jump out of here. We're going to root. You're not going to see this. Hopefully, you're going to hear this Wednesday. Crimson Advocate for Black Type Thoroughbred Swinbank Stables runs at Ascot on Wednesday morning. So hopefully they won by the time you hear this. And then we'll see what happens the rest of the way through Royal Ascot. I want to thank PTF, want to thank Drew, want to thank all the people involved in the Money Media. And I want to thank you guys for listening. Make sure you share, retweet, tweet, comments, all of those things. Greatly appreciated. Talk next week.
I need to know everything, who and the what and the where, I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George, I hop in the Porsche, it's 5 and a horse, I'm ready for war, I'm coming for throats, to turn to a ghost, I need to know everything. Now you be surprised at the info you get is by letting them talk, so I'm letting them talk.